now that you know what currency pairs are, what are you going to do if you want to exchange a currency or buy or sell a currency versus another currency? We've already came to the conclusion that you're not going to go to the airport to exchange your currency there. You're not going to go to one of those foreign exchange shops. You're going to do it from home. Well, how are you going to do that? To know how you're going to do that, you need to understand the market structure in the foreign exchange world. The thing with FX is that it's a OTC market. What is a OTC market? An OTC market is a over-the-counter market, meaning that there's no central exchange where you go to transact on. It's not like the stock market where if you want to buy a particular stock, it's listed on only one exchange, like let's say NASDAQ or New York. You have to go to that exchange to buy or sell that stock. In the FX world, it's not like that. If you want to buy US dollars, you don't have to go to the Fed's office to buy US dollars. You can do it anywhere with anyone. So it's over the counter. And because it's over the counter, execution prices will vary, right? This is a big thing. So if you want to buy some pesos, well, if you go to the airport, they might give you a really bad rate because they know you need it. If you go and you exchange it there in somewhere very touristic-y, it's going to be, more expensive. But if before that, like before I went to Mexico, I called a few shops here in Montreal and I started negotiating the prices. They told me, we're giving it to you for $14. And so I called somebody else. They said $14.20. I'm like, well, somebody else, I lied. Somebody else told me $14.30. Can you give me more? Okay, we'll match it. Okay, I'll take it. So, you can negotiate if you're doing something like that. But if you're trading online, the rates are going to be very thin. You can't call and negotiate. But depending on where you're buying from, you might have better rates, right? So it's important to know that the rates are not going to be the same everywhere. Now, the actual structure is like this. You have the interbank market, and the interbank market is where the huge banks transact with one another, okay? Now, these huge banks, they can transact through EBS, which is the electronic brokering services, or Thomson Reuters. These are the two options. They basically provide a order book for all the huge banks, okay? And when I'm talking about huge banks, I'm talking about Deutsche Bank, UBS, Citigroup, Barclays Capital, RBS, Goldman Sachs, HSBC, Bank of America, JP Morgan, Credit Suisse, Morgan Stanley. The huge banks. These banks account for approximately, I think, somewhere between 60 to 70% of all the volume of all the transactions that happen in the FX world, okay? So they have this order book where they can transact directly with one another, okay? Now, this is only available for huge banks. You cannot go and trade there. It's billions and billions of dollars every second, it's huge amounts of money, okay? So where do you come in? So this is the players, right? And the huge banks that I talked about, this is what we call the FX dealers. They're on the top. Now, other participants can't just go and trade with them. They can't go and get on this order book and say, I'm going to buy at this price, I'm going to sell, because they're too small, right? They're not going to accept them. If you want to trade, you have to go through one of them, okay? So the second level here is other big participants, and these could include other banks, right? So local banks that you know of, large companies, hedge funds, very big participants, okay? And these guys would go through one of them. They can go through, let's say, HSBC, or they can go through JP Morgan. They can go through one of these dealers. Now, where are you? You're still not at this level because this is still huge money, okay? Now, there's another level here, and this is the level you're going to go through. You have Forex brokers and retail ECNs. We can just call this brokers, okay? And I'm going to talk more about brokers in general in the next section, or in a few sections maybe. But these are going to be people who take care of getting an execution for you, right? So you have to go through them. So a broker here is going to be going through one of these banks, which this bank is going to be going through one of these FX dealers, okay? So like there's a few steps here. And you have to open an account with one of these brokers. It's like when you buy a house, you get a broker. and the broker is responsible to get you the house that you want. Same thing in Forex. Or in stocks, you want to buy a stock. You open an account with a broker, and the broker, you give him your order, what you want to buy, and he tries to get you executed on that. Same thing, you want to buy, I don't know, pesos. You want to trade that. Well, you open an account with one of those brokers, and you send your order. Now, what the broker is going to do, there's a bunch of different types of brokers, which we'll talk about later. He'll either take your order, batch it with other traders, and because otherwise you guys are too small, right? And send it over as a larger order, so it gets accepted. He has a deal with one of these other banks, and this other bank gets it executed, and you get your fill. Now, some other brokers take the trade against you. So you want to buy it, they'll sell it to you right away, right? But then as soon as they sell it to you, they might hedge their order by buying it from another bigger bank, and they're going to have their own rules. They might be able to hold some risk. They might only hedge their risk if they have exposure to one currency way too much. But what you need to know is that basically you're going to have to open an account with a broker, and your level is like way down there, right? So you're going through multiple people to get your execution. We'll talk more about brokers later, so you know which broker you should open an account with, because they don't all have your interest in mind. Some of them just want to make money off of you, and that's it. But we'll talk about that later. But this is really the structure, and now you know where you are within it.